It appeared to be the least intriguing vehicle in the dealership at first. Square headlights and a formal, stiff roofline are the kind of design that a bank manager would glance at and quickly forget. And that's exactly what made it stand out. Beneath that respectable, unassuming facade was a real sports car engine, unlike most family sedans of the time. Fiat produced about 600,000 of these vehicles in Italy alone between 1967 and 1972. When you include the models made under license in Poland, Egypt, Argentina, and other countries, the actual figure rises well into the millions. This was never merely a family vehicle. By the end of this film, you will understand why professional collectors still talk about it with genuine reverence. It was a quiet piece of engineering ambition that remained hidden under an unremarkable face for more than 20 years, quietly outlasting more flashier rivals along the way. Let's start with the detail that makes all the difference, because once you understand it, you will never look at this car in the same way. Few people are aware that Fiat used the twin-cam engine that was first created for their 124 Sport Coupe, a vehicle intended only for driving, in a useful four-door family sedan. Think about the background of that. During this time, the majority of family cars had engines designed specifically to move them from one location to another without causing any problems. Fiat took the opposite action. With the most conservative body they could create, they gave regular consumers something more akin to a detuned racing engine. Why take that chance? Because creating a completely new automobile from the ground up would have been too time-consuming and expensive. Fiat required the 125 to feel really unique and justify its position immediately below the company's larger flagship models. Both issues were simultaneously resolved by using the most interesting engine that was already available. Imagine a 1967 driver pulls away from a stoplight in what appears to be the most rational automobile on the road while prepared for a business meeting. Suddenly, the engine responds with far more passion than anyone anticipated. Buyers were taken aback by this contradiction, but this is just the beginning of the story. What Fiat accomplished with the gearbox is where things really start to get interesting. When the firm debuted the 125 Special in 1968, it had a 5-speed manual transmission, although the majority of family automobiles had 4 gears or less. Rival manufacturers would need another 10 to 20 years to develop a 5-speed alternative. Additionally, Fiat provided the 125 Special with an optional 3-speed automatic transmission, a feature that was nearly unheard of outside of pricey luxury saloons at the time, for drivers who chose convenience over changing gears in traffic. The 125 Special's approximately 100 horsepower and twin-cam engine allowed it to hit nearly 100 miles per hour, a speed that would have embarrassed a number of other so-called sports vehicles of the same era. For a straightforward reason, Fiat pushed this aggressively. Throughout the 1960s, Italian automakers engaged in a low-key but intense competition to see who could produce the most thrilling vehicle, even for the modest family market. Fiat desired the right to brag. This had significance for a real family. Now, a car purchased to transport groceries and kids to school could easily keep up with cars that cost significantly more, and the driver was aware of this every time an unexpected overtake came their way. The 125, which was positioned as the straight replacement for the outdated Fiat 1500, fit nicely beneath Fiat's larger 2300 flagship, offering the company a new mid-range alternative without going over the top of its portfolio. However, the story takes an unexpected turn at this point, since the 125 was concealing something much less spectacular beneath all that performance. The running gear and suspension from the older Fiat 1300 and 1500 cars were combined with a body that closely resembled the smaller Fiat 124 to create this vehicle. This wasn't a completely original design created on a blank sheet of paper. It was a deft combination of tried-and-true recycled parts with bold new style. When an automobile is supposed to impress a whole market, why take that shortcut? Due to the high cost of creating an entirely new platform from the ground up, and the fact that Fiat's engineering resources were already being used for a number of other projects at the time, The business was able to rapidly and reasonably introduce a truly competitive car by combining a tested chassis with a new body and an exciting new engine. And this is the important aspect to keep in mind. For drivers, this choice resulted in a vehicle that looked completely contemporary when parked in the driveway, felt reliable and robust, and was constructed on mechanicals that had already proven themselves over years of practical usage. In automobile history, some of the most cherished vintage vehicles were never entirely original. They were well-thought-out concessions with self-assured styling, and the 125 dresses compromise with true elegance. Long-time Fiat devotees are still taken aback by a little technical detail. The 125 was one of the first production cars ever equipped with an intermittent windshield wiper setting. Although this feature is so commonplace now that it hardly stands out, it was a true innovation in its day. Fiat offered 125 owners an option that paused momentarily between sweeps, perfect for a light morning drizzle, instead of making drivers choose between wipers running continuously or not at all. This particular element reveals a lot about Fiat's approach to the vehicle. In addition to chasing speed, they were secretly fixated on improving the comfort of daily driving. The dashboard itself exhibits a comparable level of attention to detail. The Fiat 125's wide, ribbon-style speedometer that stretched across the dash gave the cabin a very modern feel for its era, in contrast to its smaller sibling, the Fiat 124, which featured straightforward spherical gauges. Since the additional price needed to feel immediately justified, Fiat wanted anyone upgrading from a lesser model to perceive that difference as soon as they sat down. All of this, however, pales in comparison to the secret that completely upends the narrative, as it is quite unbelievable what happened to this car when Italy ceased producing it. The very same fundamental design was produced for decades in various regions of the world under completely different names, even though Italian production quietly ceased in 1972. In the mid-1960s, Poland's state-owned manufacturer FSO secured a licensing deal with Fiat and started manufacturing its own version, the Polski Fiat 125P, in the same year that the Italian original was introduced. This is the portion that will actually take you by surprise. This design was in production for about 25 years, which is nearly 2 decades longer than the original Italian car ever lasted. Polish production continued until 1991. A reliable family car was all that Poland's centrally planned economy needed, and once the factory investment was made, there was no incentive to change an established successful design. More than 1 million of these vehicles came off the FSO assembly line alone during that 25 years. This became much more than just a means of transportation for millions of Polish households. Others referred to it as credence, a fun homage to its boxy, cupboard-like design, while others affectionately called it Duży Fiat, which simply means the big Fiat. It became a true cultural staple. Such nicknames are seldom given out carelessly. They are the result of many generations of road vacations, weddings, first driving lessons, and family recollections created in the cabin that your parents or grandparents may have known. And Poland was just the start of this car's subtle worldwide appeal. The same basic design was also assembled in Egypt and sold there as the Nosa 125. In Yugoslavia, Zastava produced its own version, and in Argentina, Chile, Indonesia, Colombia, Morocco, and Thailand, either through local licensing agreements or Fiat's own factories. Production in Argentina alone persisted until the early 1980s. Fiat permitted local manufacturers to create this tried-and-true, already-tooled design under license rather than creating completely different automobiles for each new market. This allowed those nations to have their own family car made domestically while saving a significant amount of money on development. Think about what that actually implies. From the bustling streets of Cairo to the serene highways of the Argentine countryside, an automobile designed in Turin quietly became the mainstay of daily mobility across 3 continents. Despite wearing different badges, it always had the same honest technical spirit. And now the turn of events that makes the entire narrative truly poignant. Due to the widespread licensing of this design, especially in Poland, the glitzy twin-cam engine present in the original Italian automobiles was replaced by simpler, more economical pushrod engines taken from the older Fiat 1300 and 1500. It would have been significantly more expensive to build that complicated twin-cam engine under license than these developing nations could have afforded. Therefore, The exact vehicle that Fiat created to pursue speed and bragging rights ultimately found its true purpose in serving families who only wanted a car that would start every morning for 20 or even 30 years without complaining in a quiet and dependable manner. Ultimately, that is the true secret of the Fiat 125. It was born out of ambition and borrowed sports car flair, but humility, simplicity, and honest dependability allowed it to endure. The Fiat 132, a more contemporary vehicle designed by Marcello Gandini, took its place in Italy in 1972, although it was never able to match the original's allure and subdued ambition. Think about all that this one design accomplished. A car with a true sports car engine, cutting-edge technology that most owners never fully appreciated,